Legends, in this episode of Rucking Good, I dive into the world of health hacking with Dr. Lisa Vaughan. Lisa is an osteo, but has a wealth of knowledge in all things metabolic health. This chat was supposed to be about circadian rhythms, but we dive in and out of other areas of health optimization too. So much so, I'd love to make Lisa a regular on the pod, as we've got so much more interesting stuff I want to dive into. Hope you enjoy. Here we are with Dr. Lisa, osteo, who found our... How did you find our rucks?
Well, it was from your graphic designer, Lauren.
Oh, yes.
Who was lying on my treatment table, and she was just talking about it. And because I love walking and I'm always trying to find new ways to make it fun and interesting and to get more out of it, really, because as the more you walk, the fitter you get, right?
Yes.
So you get less out of your walks.
Yes.
Because it gets easier and you don't burn as many calories because you're fitter. So that's the whole progressive overload concept, and I hadn't really thought about, well, how do I make my walks better or get more out of them? And Lauren was just mentioning that she's starting to work for you.
Work for me, yeah.
And I was like, wow, I'd really love to try one, because I've been wearing backpacks at times and they just hurt my neck and my shoulders, and so wearing this now with the waistband, it just feels so good, and I can recommend it to my patients now. That's what I'm all about, is I need to try something first before I can recommend to my patients.
Yes, and you and I, we discovered pretty early on that we both like to dabble into the, for lack of a better word, health hacking. I don't particularly love the word hack, but I do geek out on science around longevity and health span and everything, because I think, like, one of the most things I'm grateful for with discovering rucking was, and it was purely by accident, when, same as you, was walking, got walk fit, needed to make my walks more meaningful because it was such a time suck, and bought a weight vest from Rebel, put it on. It did the job of making walks harder, but it wasn't comfortable, and I went from really enjoying walking to not enjoying walking.
Yeah.
And so I jumped onto Google, typed in, how do you walk with weight comfortably? And that's how I found rucking. And so, but as a byproduct of finding rucking or learning about rucking, I met Peter Attia, Andrew Huberman, Michael Easter, all the guys that are kind of very renowned scientists and medical professionals in the health field, but they would be probably put in the bucket of health hackers. And so, yeah, so I was super grateful to find these guys, because they've just taught me so much and helped me move from being, you know, metabolically really unhealthy to now I'm kind of like a normal human being. I'm always trying to get better, but and they were the ones that introduced me to rucking, and that's why we now have these beautiful packs on our back, thanks to those guys. But when I realized that you were into circadian rhythms and red light therapy and all the stuff that I've read a lot about and probably dabbled in a few things, I think you're probably more advanced in your health hacking experiments than I am, but I just thought it would be cool to catch up with you for a ruck every other week, and then if we just pick a topic, and then just kind of geek out on a topic around health hacking. And I let you pick the first topic, and it is
circadian rhythms and how it influences your health.
Excellent. So yes, and I've got to say, I stumbled across circadian rhythms when I was trying to improve my sleep health, but I haven't done a super big deep dive into it. So I did a little bit of cram study about 10 minutes before I met you this morning, and found some interesting things, but yeah, all in all, let's go down this bush track, have a look at that. All in all, I'm interested to get Dr. Lisa's take on all things circadian rhythms.
Wow, this is something that I stumbled on probably only 8 to 10 months ago. I sat in a webinar with Dr. Max Gulhane, who is an Australian GP registrar who's very interested in metabolic health, helping particularly men get rid of their visceral fat. And he talked about circadian rhythms and meal timing, which caught my attention. I'd never really thought about it. But circadian rhythms is basically a 24-hour cycle that is regulating your internal body clock, all the systems within your body, essentially. And it's on a 24-hour cycle, but it has to be reset every day. And the only way to reset this clock is via light exposure. So we have all these internal clocks in our body. So for example, the digestive system has its own clock. Your pancreas that secretes insulin has its own clock. Your muscles, your immune system, there's hundreds of these internal clocks.
And that was actually one thing that I discovered this morning in my 10 minutes of cramming that was like the wow thing that I always thought it was just a neurological clock, like I thought we had one clock that, you know, did our circadian stuff. But then when I deep dived this morning very quickly, you know, they were saying about all these other, like, you know, skin and muscle and organs and that have got their own separate clock.
Yeah.
Like, that still helps in the grand scheme of things, but I didn't really, that was one thing that was a bit of an eye-opener in my 10 minutes of cramming this morning.
But the one thing that's crucial in all of this is you need to synchronise them, right? You need to synchronise them, and the way to do that in the morning is via watching sunrise.
Yeah.
Morning light. Morning light is the trigger that synchronises all these clocks first thing. And so you don't necessarily need to watch the sunrise, but what it is that your eyes, the first light that they are exposed to is outdoor morning light. And that sends a signal to this cool little nucleus in your brain. It's called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is just, I don't know why science has to make it all so like difficult.
I wonder if is it the scientist that discovers it gets to name it? Is that kind of how it works? Or
it probably comes back to some Latin name, the chiasma. Can't remember what that means. But anyway, it's a nucleus deep in your brain that gets stimulated via your retina when you look at this morning sunlight.
Yeah, and you don't have to look directly in the sun, do you? You just need to have it's like a light exposure, so you want your eyeballs to get first light exposure. You don't necessarily need to be eyeballing straight into the sun.
No, definitely not. And it needs to be the first light that you see. So you don't turn your lights on, you don't open the fridge door, you don't check your phone first. It has to be that first morning light. So you get up and you go outside and you look at the sky. You don't even have to look at the sun, you just look at the sky.
Oh, see, that's problematic for me because I always get first light exposure in my eyes, but it's not the first light exposure I get in my eyes because I've probably done an hour in front of my computer before the sun's even up.
So there's a hack for that. You just get some blue light blocking glasses.
I do wear blue light glasses that's my prescription for. Yeah, my prescription is in blue blockers.
Yeah. So
hopefully that would help. But yeah, there's just no sun out when I get up. Look at this beautiful view. So this is, I met you at Shelley Beach, not Tawoom Bay Beach, which I thought it was originally. Lucky you saw me in the traffic. And we are walking from Shelley Beach up towards Baddo Bay Beach. And then probably do a little bit of crack neck, maybe just go up to the car park.
Yeah.
Which
Cool.
will be cool. So in my instance where I'm getting up when it's dark to try to get all my admin and the stuff that I don't like done very early in the morning, so my day is better after that. If I'm wearing my blue blockers, that's okay.
Yeah, that's certainly a mitigating effect. Even having some red lights in the background.
Yep.
Because we basically want to mimic morning light, and morning light, that early morning light, is very rich in the red light and infrared spectrum. Just as we walk, actually, I just want to say that right now, walking in nature, we are being immersed in infrared light because these plants don't like to absorb infrared, so they reflect.
Oh, do they reflect it? Yeah, right.
So we're basically being bathed in this incredible bath, forest bathing of infrared light. And I'm diverging a bit here.
No, it's good though.
But it is, the infrared spectrum is the spectrum that we can't see, right? But we can feel it, and it deeply penetrates into our body and has that all the benefits of those infrared saunas that people will spend thousands of dollars in. We're getting the benefit right now, and we don't even need to have exposed skin because the infrared goes through clothing.
Oh, right.
So
that's another benefit of doing your exercise in nature.
Oh, 100%.
Because you're getting red light exposure as well.
Red light and infrared, yeah, so the longer wavelengths of the light spectrum. But
yeah, and so if you're doing this, like, not everybody's going to be able to exercise first thing in the morning, or
no.
But like, so say busy mum, maybe single mum, not getting much help, got to get the kids ready for school. If she gets up 10 minutes earlier than normal to maybe go and have a cup of tea while standing in the backyard, getting that first light exposure.
100%.
And then try to, if time allows for it, if she is going for a walk, just to try to get out in nature.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter if that's at lunchtime.
So the spectrum,
it's still beneficial.
Yeah, the light spectrum changes.
Yep.
So first thing in the morning, and that first hour is very red light, infrared dominant.
Okay.
So the red and the infrared lights are what we consider protective and regenerative. So it actually protects your skin from the UV light later on in the day.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So if you can get out in that morning sun with a bit of skin exposed, now that's really hard some mornings.
Yes. Especially even now, like we're in spring, the days are nice and warm, but the mornings are still a little bit chilly.
A little bit cold, yeah. But having said that, from a circadian perspective, simply getting that morning sunlight is going to reset your entire, or synchronise your internal clocks, because, as I said, the digestive system, for example, and the pancreas you're more insulin sensitive first thing in the morning. Your digestive secretions are more first in the morning. So that's when it is, from a circadian perspective, beneficial to actually eat in the morning, which is going to go against a lot of fasting protocols.
Yeah.
But what I learned from Dr. Max Gullane and about the whole meal timing from a circadian perspective is we're basically designed to get up, right, in the morning.
Yeah.
So cortisol rises, and we're going to talk about cortisol in another podcast.
That'll be an episode on its own.
It will be an episode on its own because it's. I'm not going to give too many details away yet because it's just massive. But so cortisol naturally rises first thing in the morning. It's what gets us out of bed. It's what wakes us up. It makes us feel alert, and it causes our body to release glucose. It's like, we're ready to go, people. Let's go, let's get moving. So from a perspective of circadian meal timing, it's not the time to eat carbs because our liver has just released some glucose ready to go for the day. So I've done this just recently worn a continuous glucose monitor. I'm going to get you one.
Yeah,
and
I
get
wear
you
them every other month.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
fantastic.
because my backstories, I haven't really filled you in on everything yet, but I'm type 2 diabetic, even though I don't test it with my HbA1c or whatever, HbA1cs.
Yeah.
When I do my quarterly bloods, I'm still very insulin resistant.
Yeah.
Bunny!
Well,
So I just like to monitor. I found I was doing it every month, but I was getting very obsessed by the data.
yeah.
And I don't think that was healthy. So this is Bateau Bay Beach. This is what we get to experience living on the central coast of New South Wales. And this is kind of the start of the uphill towards Crackneck, and it's a very well used track, especially in the morning. If you come out here in the morning, there's heaps of people running and walking now, which is good. We want to see more of that. In regards to circadian rhythms,
Yeah.
we talked about the early sun exposure or light exposure that kind of triggers the start of the clock.
Yeah. And it synchronizes all the others.
Yeah, and so I guess, like, if you look at a typical day, what are the things that someone can be doing to make sure that their circadian rhythm's on point, like to get all the benefits of having a good, consistent circadian rhythm?
So the first thing, of course, as we've said, is the first light that you see, if you can,
Yep.
is morning sunshine.
And is that consistent, like trying to wake up at the same time each morning, or
well, what will
relatively
happen
close?
as your circadian rhythms start getting more coordinated, you will automatically start waking up pre-sunrise. So for me, for example, I used to live by my alarm clock. Now, my alarm clock is the kookaburras, or the magpies chirping about an hour, 45 minutes pre-sunrise.
Yep.
And I slowly start to wake up, whereas before I would wake up, boom,
Yeah.
adrenaline,
Because you
alarm
going beep, beep,
beep, beep.
Yep.
And first thing I would do was get up, turn all the lights on, and grab a coffee to go for my walk.
Yep.
So now I don't have to do that. So I wake up naturally. If you
So
can.
is that like between 5 and 6 sometime?
So it depends on when sunrise is. At the moment, it's getting earlier and earlier. That's the thing that's amazing about it, is that I'm naturally waking up about 45 minutes, or certainly that pre-dawn. I have an app called the Circadian app.
Yep.
And it tells you when sunrise is, when first light is, when UVA starts coming in.
Yep.
And that's got lots of benefits as well, which we can talk about perhaps another time. But so the first thing is that morning light resets your clocks, and trying to eat a meal that's not too high in carbs first up,
Yep.
because cortisol's already rising. You've got access, your body, like as you've noticed, that dawn phenomenon.
Oh, yeah.
Even for me, my blood sugars sit at about 4.5,
Yep.
but they can be first in the morning about 5.5, 6, which is considered low for a diabetic. But for me,
Yeah, I was going to say that'd be perfect for me.
So they naturally rise to get you moving.
Yep.
So busy mums and dads, best to do is like even 5 minutes every day is better than 20 minutes once a week.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's about consistency.
Consistency. Yeah.
Because what happens in the morning is going to set you up for nighttime sleep.
Yeah.
So
Right.
then what happens in the course of the day, we start off with this red, infrared spectrum, more of the long wavelength of light, and that's protective of our skin. And then we're walking now with the UV light that's come into play, which gets a bad rap.
It does, doesn't it? With the skin
Gets a bad,
cancer.
yeah.
And I always wonder whether, like, are you going to get more damage from the sun on your skin, or are you going to get more damage from the sunscreen that we bathe ourselves in and our kids? Like everything with health, I don't think there's a one solution fits all, but I do think that focusing on circadian is so much easier than a lot of the other things that they might think to do, even if it's an exercise regime or even if it's a diet.
Well, it's free, right?
Yeah, and there's no cost restrictions. It's just, I think the best thing is like between, trying to get into a sleep routine that's fairly consistent, getting into an eating routine. So that's something that I found through my little deep dive is I'm not very structured in my eating because I'm always trying to fast.
Yeah.
So for me, I sort of had this idea of I need to eat by feel.
Yes.
So I eat when I feel hungry, I eat until I feel satiated, and I kind of eat what I feel like eating as long as it ticks the boxes of not being ultra processed.
Yeah.
And that was the whole thing I was working on. But as it turns out, I'm probably better off getting into a habit of eating at regular times, which was interesting that I found doing the little deep dive this morning.
And not eating a lot at night, because part of that circadian, the gut clock.
Yeah.
Our gut basically, when the sun goes down, if it's signalled right, is okay, it's time to rest and digest. It's actually time to start repairing the gut.
Yeah.
Now, if you put a ton of food into your gut at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night,
which we all do.
Which most people
well, 90%,
do.
98% of us. No, but the general population would for sure.
And then it takes, 3-4 hours for that bolus of food to actually be digested. So let's say you eat at 8 o'clock at night. Let's say 11 p.m, 12 o'clock at night is really when healing is able to occur, because finally your gut goes, oh, fantastic, I don't have a whole heap of food in there. And then you wake up at 7 o'clock and eat again.
Yeah.
When do you repair? So for circadian perspective, eating, well, you think about it biologically, ancestrally, we were never designed to eat in the dark. There was no light.
No, that's it.
You might have your campfire.
Yeah.
But that light from your campfire is high in infrared and red light, which in the evening is restorative.
Sleep. Yeah.
So the other thing is,
I don't know. Like you said something before about eating early and how that sort of goes against time restricted or intermittent fasting. But then I think the ultimate, because I've tested it on my sleep trackers, if I have a good 3 to 4 hour block of not eating before I go to bed, and the longer the block, the better quality sleep I get as well.
Yeah.
Probably because my internals are doing things like cell repair versus trying to digest a big meal. So I think if you'd flip, like I used to think that intermittent fasting was that I'd go to bed, and same with everybody else, I'd probably eat a massive meal at night because I'd fasted that day and I've only got one chance to get my calories in. So I'm like, yo.
Morning.
Smash a massive big meal. And then I sit on the couch or sit in front of the computer and work and then go to bed. And then as a result, have a really poor sleep, wake up in the morning and then, and then I'm trying to prolong my fast. But I think if you look at it the other way, if you flip it over,
yep,
and go, well, I want to try to stop eating. So the challenge for me, instead of waiting as long as possible to eat, I need to try to time it that I can wait out the night. So if my last meal is maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I'm going to bed between 9 and 10, then I've had a solid 5 to 6 hours of digestion before I even hop into bed.
Yes.
And then, so I'm still doing a fast, but instead of fasting from 7 p.m. to 10 a.m., I'm fasting from 4 p.m. to 8 a.m.
Yeah, 100%. And that, from a circadian perspective and meal timing, that's perfect. It's like that saying, eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince,
and then dinner like a
pauper.
Yeah.
And so it may look very different to what the standard Australian meal timing is right now. And it's hard to do. Look, Dr. Max's program suggests that we eat our last meal 2 hours before sunset. So sunset's like 5:45 here on the coast, which means that you know, 3:45, 4 o'clock, I'm eating my last meal.
Yeah.
And that's the days that I work in the clinic till 6 o'clock. Simply can't do that.
Unless you cross out an appointment.
Yeah,
to eat.
To eat. Food is fuel, right? So it makes no sense to have your major meal at night time and you're just going to sit on the couch.
Yeah. If you're exercising at night, and it makes me wonder, all these people that go to the gym after work, like it kind of throws a wrong signal.
Well, the next thing is that they're exercising in artificial light.
Yeah.
And blue light, the artificial light is just in the blue light spectrum.
Yeah.
And blue light, without the balance of the red and the infrared, the whole spectrum does a number of things. And one is that it blocks the production of melatonin. And melatonin is the sleep hormone.
Yeah, right.
So that's why blocking as much blue light as you can after the sun goes down is really helpful for sleep, because as soon as you turn that light on, your brain goes, oh, it's midday, it's the middle of the day, I better switch on, and I might start eating because that's the signal it gets.
This is where it gets confusing with health advice. Like ultimately, I'd love it in a society even if we worked a little later or started a little earlier, but we had a better break in between the middle of the day at lunch. And so if you think about, if you try to make lunch your big meal, or say you have a break from work from between 1:30 and 3,
Yep.
and then maybe work through till 6:30 or something, like that would give you the opportunity to have a big feed, go and do your workout.
Well, from a circadian perspective, the muscles, your body is better to exercise in that sort of mid-afternoon time.
Yeah, I said, was it 11 till 4? Is that what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not like 5 a.m. in the
Nah.
morning. And from a,
Hey.
even just a musculoskeletal perspective, you know, I tell my patients, do not be doing heavy deadlifts and squats at 5 a.m. in the morning, because your discs are their most vulnerable first thing.
Yeah.
They're like these big water balloons.
That's Lisa Osteo talking.
That's my, so that, you know, it's not a positive health practice to be lifting really, really heavy at 5 o'clock in the morning. But then I understand, you know, that we're talking about optimal health, but what can you do if you can't do these things? And
Would that be the same as rucking? Would you, like if you're carrying, you know, some of the boys, your husband included, throws 15 kilos on his back.
yeah.
Like, would he be better off not doing that first thing in the morning?
Yeah, not first thing. Get up and get moving.
Yeah, get the joints moving.
Get the joints, like motion is lotion. So,
Yeah.
good morning.
Hey.
Keep moving, but allow gravity to take hold,
Yeah.
to allow those discs to just kind of settle a bit. But then having said that, from a glucose, burning off excess glucose, it is good to get moving in the morning.
Yeah.
But I'm talking
But
more
the heavy weight, like,
weights,
yeah.
you know.
And that's what made me think of it. Like, I'm like, a morning walk in the first light's probably the ideal way to start your day.
Absolutely.
And then I'm thinking of it as a guy who owns a ruck company. I'm like, oh, should I be telling people to ruck first thing in the morning?
Maybe not with 10 kilos on their back,
Nah.
maybe with like 3 or 4, or just, you know, but I kind of do want to not harp on, but really make the point of that blue light in the evening,
Yeah.
because it is signalling incorrect signals to the brain, which is why it's difficult to sleep. So
being on your phone,
Yep.
or watching telly, or like I even find my family, I'm forever turning the lights down,
yes,
especially after dinner.
yeah,
They like, even last night was a perfect example. I came in, I showered, we got a granny flat out the back. I got my wife and 2 girls, so getting into the bathroom's almost impossible. So my bathroom is out in the granny flat. And so I come back in, I've had my beautiful warm shower.
yes,
My body's coming back down to temp. I'm starting to yawn and get prepared for an awesome sleep. And then I walk in the house and it's like, boom. Yeah, it's like, and I'm like, dudes, what are you doing? And then our bathroom light in particular, we've got 2 lights. We've got the big down lights, and then we've got this little like chandelier type light. The chandelier light's nice. It's very orangey.
Yes,
and it's
perfect.
And it's so like it just gives you enough light that you can brush your teeth.
Yep.
And go to the loo without, you know. But I walk in and they've got the big down lights on where it's almost like a solarium, and so that's one thing that I would love in my household, is to have it automated at some point where at a certain time the lights just go to a certain level and they're just forever dimmed. And I'm like, and if you need more light than that to do something specific, go and grab a torch or use your phone or...
Well, what I do is as soon as sunset comes, all the candles come out.
Yep.
So I've got like a bunch of candles.
Oh, how romantic.
It's very romantic. And I've got red light bulbs in a lot of my lamps.
Yeah.
So
so red light at night's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't throw out your body to think that you're outside again and...
Well, it's a mitigating factor. So if it was like, it's not ideal.
Yeah. So no light's
ideal. But I'm saying, like, this is real life, people.
Yes.
You know, you've got to cook a meal.
Yeah, that's it.
So we just turn the light on above the cooktop.
Yeah.
So that emits enough light.
Yeah.
And then we've got heaps and heaps of candles, but we eat before sunset.
Oh, yes.
But it was quite funny. My son had been in Europe and he came back and forgot about the protocol, and we were all sitting around the couch. My husband does like to watch telly, so I wear my blue light blocking, my red glasses.
So on the blue light blocking glasses, just for people who haven't heard of them before, you can get, like, even if you don't have prescription glasses, you can still buy clear blue blocking glasses, yeah? So
they're generally red tinge.
Okay.
So like if you're looking at the television, the blue becomes green.
Oh, okay.
But it just blocks out that really
nasty light that's
blue.
Gonna,
and kind of tells your brain a bit of that, because in sunlight, 50% of the light is red and infrared.
Yes.
Although you can't see it. Like right now, we're seeing lots of blue.
Yeah.
But if we got a
spectrometer,
it would be the whole wavelength from like 250. Visible light is UV's in that 5%. It's only 5%, and then you've got the visible light, which is the rainbow.
Yeah.
Roy-G Biv.
Yeah.
And then heading off into the red, into the infrared is.
Yeah. So if you wear prescription glasses, always good to get a pair of blue blockers as well. Like,
so it only blocks about 80%.
Yeah.
But it's better than sitting in front of your computer. And you can also get on your iPhone, because I do like to research at night. Like. I'm being real.
Oh, for sure. And it's super, like for me, the only time I get to myself to do the stuff on my phone, or if I want to go and watch a series or catch up on some sport, is probably in that period of 7:30 till 9:30.
Yeah. And, you know, ideally is that you're not on these things, and you can get these little hook-on red light lamps that you can put on your book so you can read. So at least it emits some light.
Yeah.
But real life, turn off as many lights as you can, put on some candles, change to red light bulbs if you can, get a pair of red light blocking glasses, blue light blocking glasses.
Yeah.
And that can just set up your sleep routine. So since I've been doing this, my friends think it's hilarious, because literally the sun goes down, I'm in bed 2 to 3 hours after the sun goes down, because I'm just gone into that natural sleepy mode. Like you did, you get out of the shower, you're nice and relaxed, your body temperature's dropping, and then you walk into an environment where there's a whole lot of artificial light, and your brain gets...
It's like, wake up again.
What the heck?
Yeah.
And you are awake, and then you wonder, so you can't sleep, so you're lying in bed, and you're on your phone, which is emitting a whole heap of blue light.
Yeah.
And you wonder why you can't sleep. Then you wake up unrefreshed because you didn't get into a deep sleep. And just a side note, my husband told me this. He's reading a book on sleep. And as a ex-naturopath, he said he wished he had have focused on sleep as his primary source of naturopathic kind of advice 35, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
But he said,
I think as a human, man, I would have negated so much of my poor metabolic health, even if I'd kept drinking heaps and eating heaps and doing all the rest of it. If I only just spent more time, even though I wasn't getting quality sleep because I would drink a lot, and particularly red wine, which I've monitored my sleep, and red wine and me and sleep, quality sleep doesn't work. But if I could go back and change anything, it would be to not be an idiot and sit up till 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning on my computer, drinking red wine, eating chocolate, you know. And for me, I didn't work long hours because I had to. Like, I actually loved I had my TV show, I had an events business, and I had a signage business, and I had all these really, really cool businesses that I just couldn't, like, I was almost addicted to them.
Yeah.
Like, particularly, like, we had an events company, and it was almost like a poker machine, because I could come up with a really cool marketing ploy or like a piece of content, or just come up with an idea where I go, oh, let's see how that goes. And I could put it out there, and whether it was organically or running ads against it, but I would see ticket sales go and my bank balance increase, like live.
So it was almost dopamine.
Well, man, it was massive dopamine. And so that was my whole day. And I think, like, I never got tired. It wasn't like I wasn't pushing through fatigue and tiredness to try to stay up that late. Like, I had to try to get myself to sleep, and that's why I was drinking a bottle of red. And
well, you're already on adrenaline.
Yeah, oh man, and like so
cortisol,
much of it.
adrenaline, and you know, short doses, adrenaline and cortisol are life-saving.
Yeah.
And you know, adrenaline, let's be honest, is addictive.
Yeah. And
like, whoa, man, I feel good, I've got energy, I'm alert, boom.
Yeah.
But, you know, chronic, long-term adrenaline spikes, I used to be like that too, and I end up with Hashimoto's, which is a autoimmune thyroid disease.
Yeah, well, I don't have a thyroid anymore. So my cancer was thyroid.
Yeah.
So I ended up with a whopping big nodule hanging off my thyroid that was cancerous. And yeah, so they took half of it originally because they thought they could keep half, but then on the biopsy where they carved one half away from the other, there was another cell. And so I went back in for a second time, got the rest of it removed, and on thyroxine forevermore.
Rest of your life.
Yeah. I'd been to seminars with the New South Wales Health that told me that you can't reverse diabetes. They didn't mention once anything about lifestyle changes.
That's crazy
or
to
root
me.
causes. They just said you're going to be medicated for life, and you're going to have to get eye tests and feet tests and this and that. And it wasn't until they put me on the drugs that they said that I'd need for the rest of my life, and I was allergic to it, that same thing I Googled, you know, how do you manage diabetes without metformin? And then all the things that came up were reversing diabetes, reversing type 2 diabetes, and I'm like, wait a minute, they told me that you can't reverse it, I've got it forever. And I think, like, I'll never be able to reverse my insulin resistance because I've burnt through all my insulin. But I think that if you're constantly doing your quarterly bloods and your HbA1c is not in diabetic levels, you're not really type 2 diabetic anymore, right?
That's right.
But I've got to be mindful all the time because I don't have the insulin that you would have to combat blood sugar spikes.
Yes.
So my blood sugar spikes and it stays elevated for longer, and it takes longer to come down. And that's where you're finding little hacks like going for a little 15-minute stroll after, like 30 minutes after I eat, just eliminates those spikes, which for me, because the one thing that's not talked about with diabetics and type 2 diabetics is the amputations and the blindness, and and I'm like, why is there not if as a society we're leaning towards this obesity and diabesity, like the whole diabetes and obesity thing, like, why aren't we putting out like scare campaigns around amputations and blindness? Because they do it with car accidents and drink driving, they do it with smoking, they do it with everything. But I'm like, we live in a society where like 80% of what everyone's eating is ultra processed and probably delivered to their house. You don't even have to go out to get takeaway anymore.
And purposefully addictive.
Yeah, and it's got all the things in it, the crunch and the feel and the salt and the spice, and I'm like, why isn't there a general like knowledge campaign around the damage like that you're doing to yourself by, you know, and everyone thinks the fat word is bad. Like, you know, you can't call someone fat, or you can't talk about being fat, or fat. But I'm like, fat's the devil.
Unfortunately, with diabetes is that it's silent, so you have no idea what your blood glucose is doing.
No.
So.
And we're not encouraged to get regular blood tests either.
No.
So that was something I was working on with, long story short, I was going to sell my event business to a national sporting organisation. And part of it was that there was heaps of health grants up available. And so we did a massive deep dive into like the cost of health, like the cost of avoidable health, so lifestyle diseases.
Yes.
Of
which diabetes is one.
Oh, for sure, yeah, and smoking and like
Yeah.
the smoking-related cancers and the heart disease and all that. We worked out, we did a whole big paper on the cost to taxpayers on that. And so, hey Poppy. So, yeah, we were spending, I can't remember the numbers now, but it was like 60% of the total health budget was on totally avoidable outcomes. Preventable diseases.
Yeah.
And then so, for me, I was like, well, why wouldn't you put tax incentives in place for the people that are looking after themselves and staying metabolically healthy?
Yes, incentivise.
Yeah, incentivise them with tax breaks, because they're not
Yes.
part of the tax burden that everybody else is.
No.
So, but then my thought around that is it would force everybody to get an annual blood test, because like bloods don't lie.
Exactly.
And it will get, like my problem, like I was never diagnosed as pre-diabetic because I never got a blood test. Right? I'd never ever had a blood test in my life, never felt sick. And then I come home from work one day, thought I was having a heart attack, pulled into a medical centre. They thought I was on drugs or having a panic attack or something. And then, yeah, it was the first, I left there with a prescription for Prozac. And a request for bloods for a full panel, and that's where I found out I was full-blown type 2 diabetes,
Yes.
fatty liver, high cholesterol, ticked all the boxes.
And you're just going about your life thinking that you're okay.
Well, I knew.
Or you
See, this is the thing about fat shaming, right? I wish more than anything in my life that some of my mates had the balls to call me a fatty.
Yeah.
And say, hey man, you're starting to look a bit podgy. Let's go for a run, let's do something. Like, because I was successful in business, everybody was all, oh, you got your TV show, and oh, you're doing this, and oh, and like, I was just everybody was just up my ass because I was successful at business, that not anyone mentioned anything about my health or the fact that I'd put on, like, man, at my peak, I was probably 135 keggers.
So the question I have to that is, if someone had said, Adam, you've got fat, how would you have responded? Well, you can respond in two ways. One is you can get really angry, and I met a guy at the gym many years ago who I remember when he started training with Luke Grant, he was overweight. And he just went, the transformation every week was unbelievable.
Yeah.
First session he did, I thought, oh my God, he's going to die. Like, fully thought he was going to die. Anyway, I ended up talking to him months later. And genetically, we did his carb number, so I do DNA testing too, and we did his carb number and yada, yada, yada. And he said, the best thing that happened was I went on a date with this really lovely girl. We had a fantastic time. And in the end, she said, I had a great time, but you're not in alignment with my lifestyle practices because you clearly don't look after yourself. And I want to look after myself, and so I don't think we'll have a second date. He got really mad. He was like, how dare you? But
she wasn't lying, right?
No, she was just saying, look,
like,
you're a lovely guy, but you clearly don't look after yourself. Health isn't your priority.
And it is for her.
And that is what's her values for her. So he just got mad, got a fire in his belly and just went, well, screw you.
Yeah.
But that's what he needed. Now, some people, someone tells them they're fat, they just go into a corner and start eating more food.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on your personality, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I guess, so for me, I wish people had done it, including my wife, but I think like I was dragging my wife into my kind of poor lifestyle. She was busy, she had the kids, financially we were good, we had the house of our dreams, we had everything. And it's the comfort crisis, right?
Yes.
We were super comfortable, right? And, for me, I'd always use the excuse of being busy for work. Work was more important than anything else because it gave me all the things that we seem to treasure so much. But take me back down to $1 in my bank account now and give me 20 years back, I'd take it every day of the week. I'd go back to zero, I'd go back to minus if I could go back to probably 30, I think is where the wheels started falling off for me. And the more successful I got, the more sick I got.
Well, you're probably less sleep,
Yep.
burning the candles at both ends, eating ultra-processed food because, hey, it takes a bit of effort to eat good quality, nutritious food, right?
Yeah, most of my big problem around food was that I travelled so much. Like I ate probably 90% of my meals would have been purchased somewhere.
Yeah, so you're out of control about what's in those actual foods.
Yeah.
And genetically, we will talk about this another time because I love this conversation about genetics.
Well, actually, let's do the genetic chat after I get a genetic test.
Yes.
And we'll use me as
because you've actually paid for it, Adam.
Oh, have I?
Haven't you? I thought you did.
I don't know.
You're on my list.
Oh, I might have back in the day.
The kit got sent to you many years ago and you didn't swap yourself.
Right. Oh, maybe I did. Yeah, but see that, I probably paid good money for that too. But
yeah, you did.
It wasn't a priority in my life at the time.
And that's the issue, is that it needs to be a priority. But some people genetically, I read this the other day, your genes aren't your destiny.
That way, Shelley? Oh no, Shelley's that way.
Your genes aren't your destiny, they are your tendency.
Yes. Yeah.
So your tendency may be to like the taste of sweet foods.
Yeah.
So if you knew that, perhaps you would choose differently.
Yes.
Because you wouldn't have it in the house. If you knew that if there was
avoid the things that you're drawn towards.
Yes. And it's not necessarily willpower when it comes to the genetics. Like, just don't have it in the house if you know that your tendency... Let me have a look at this for you.
Yeah.
So I have the fatso gene. I'm clearly not fat. However, I have a tendency to get fat with certain foods.
That's where we started, was about where that tower is right there. But couldn't have picked a better day for it, Lisa.
Yes. Yesterday was a different day. I know you went to Strickland Forest and Dennis and I went to Budai National Park and it was 70-kilometre winds on the beach and I felt like I was in Iceland.
Strickland was pretty, it was cold, it was just cold, but it was really sheltered from the wind. So, and it's a nice walk up there. And actually, when I was talking about the challenges for Ruck, I want to do like a vertical challenge.
Oh.
And that road leading up to Strickland, I think if we did hill repeats of that as an event, that would be insane. So take my van, limit it to 6 people, because it's a 7-seater, but where all the steps that you take are uphill.
Yes.
And you just measure the uphill, stop your Garmin, hop in the car, get driven down to the bottom, so it's a vertical challenge, whether that's steps or meters or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I was thinking about it last night. I'm like, one of my things that I want to do with this community that we're building is just always test them to do cool stuff with a ruck on their back.
Well, you'll definitely be doing some stretches at the other end before you start again.
Yes,
after you've been sitting. Hello.
Yeah, good. Yeah, so don't you find too, like, people are so much nicer out in nature?
Oh, well.
Like if we were doing this in a shopping centre, no one would make eye contact with you. You'd hardly have anyone say, "Hi, how you doing?" But when you're walking out in nature, it's almost weird that someone doesn't acknowledge you and smiles.
Well,
or
usually they've
says
got
hello.
their earphones in if they're
or they're running.
Something else.
They're trying to beat a PB in their Runkeeper or Strava.
But when I was researching about the blog on why outdoor exercise is superior to indoor, it was about the cognitive benefits and the mental health benefits. And I was just thinking about that this morning. Like, we're walking, right? And we have to actually think where we're placing each foot because we're on uneven terrain. There's some roots in the way.
Yeah.
We actually have to be purposefully mindful, but yet at the same time, we kind of immerse our gaze into nature all around us. And that's part of that kind of meditative tendency you have when you walk in nature. You're immersed in a panoramic gaze.
Yeah.
But you still have to be mindful of every step. Now, if you go to the gym, you're just mindlessly walking under blue light,
Yeah.
which actually takes energy from you, as opposed to the electrons from nature that we're actually absorbing electrons from the sun right now,
Yeah.
which is adding to our electron bank, as it were. So
See, she's not smiling because she's trying to smash a PB.
But even the UVA and UVB that we're exposed to right now, UVA is known to balance out those stress hormones.
Yeah, right.
So we're getting kind of positive.
So we need to create an outdoor gym.
Yes.
Like, we've got the ruck, and the ruck's great for, you know, the bone density stuff, which we actually should do actually, that's one of our podcast episodes needs to be all about your views on
Bone density.
Just on rucking
yes.
as an osteo, like from your professional viewpoint, why should people be rucking? Why did I come up with this thing? You know, and is it for everybody or is it for specific people? Like, I think we need to book that in as one.
Yeah.
But actually, as we're coming close to getting back to the car, the thing I try to do with all my podcast episodes is to give people who have suffered through the whole episode a nice, like,
succinct summary.
Well, no, not a summary, but basically like a bit of a blueprint from your perspective as someone who's tested a lot of things, is in the medical profession, you know, likes the health hacking, yada yada. Like, you know, whether it's 3 or 5 or a daily blueprint that people should try to do like on circadian rhythm to try to get that to a level that's going to benefit them from a health perspective.
Okay, so first, number 1 is daily sunlight exposure first thing in the morning before your eyes see any other light. Take your sunglasses off. You don't need to look directly at the sun, but literally look at the sky. So you don't have to be watching the literal sunrise over the horizon. You just need to have that signal in through your retina to say it is morning.
Yeah, and so just to clarify, it doesn't need to be sunrise, even if the sun has already risen, if you haven't climbed out of bed till 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
But before you jump on your computer, turn the television on.
Turn the phone on.
Turn the phone on, do anything. You just want to head outside, have your cup of tea.
Yep.
Standing on the grass, getting some nice rays.
Yes, that's number 1. If you do nothing else,
that's it.
Number 1.
Yep.
And 5 minutes, 10 minutes is better every day than trying to do it once a week.
Yeah.
So consistency is important.
So make it a daily habit, yeah.
Regular sun breaks, just getting out in the sun.
Yep. So if you're working in an office, go and have your lunch sitting outside.
Yes.
Yep.
Because unfortunately the sun, the spectrum that we get in from our windows is 50% of the infrared and red light is blocked.
Yeah.
All of the UVB is blocked, and UVB is really important for synthesizing vitamin D, which that's another whole level.
Yep.
We'll talk about that with the cortisol podcast, but vitamin D is really important for immune health, bone health. It's responsible for 2,000 gene expressions. It's so important. But we block that if we're behind glass.
Yep.
But yet all the UVA comes through. So if you can just get out in sun, I'm talking sensible sun exposure.
Yeah.
You know, don't be crazy and sit out there for an hour and you haven't been in the sun for
No, but if it took you 15 minutes to eat your bowl of salad for lunch, that's a good amount of time.
Yep.
And then go for a walk afterwards.
Exactly, go for a walk afterwards. And evening routine, again, if you can watch that sunset, I personally find that a bit harder because of my routine, but watching the opposite sun setting, turning off as many of your artificial lights at night as possible.
Yeah, so after dinner, try to dim the lights.
Dim the lights.
Minimise your use of everything, stick your blue blockers on.
And they've got apps where you can change the light intensity on your phone to grayscale. I might do a little video on that.
Yeah, that'd be good.
So that's what I do with my phone. And try not to eat a big evening meal when you'd be better to have your last meal certainly before sunset.
Yeah.
The last time you eat.
Yeah.
And if you are into intermittent fasting, or time restricted eating, at least that's you're just flipping your time restricted eating.
Yeah.
And I'd be really fascinated to see how that works for you, Adam, because
the big thing for me is like I'm aiming to hit certain protein numbers, just cause like for me I try to hit like a gram of protein per kilo. So if I can hit my 100 grams of protein, that's awesome. The problem with intermittent fasting and restricted eating is that it makes it really hard to get that amount in when you're only having like if you're doing one meal or 2 meal a day. So it's also then like looking at supplementation, but then that puts you back to, if I'm having a protein shake, despite it not having any nasties and this and that, it's still a processed it's still a processed thing. So ideally I would get my 100 grams of protein from 3 meals a day.
Yes.
I'm just going to move towards, well, I've missed this morning, but as of tomorrow, I'm going to schedule in having a breakfast, say between 7:30 and 8.
Yep, perfect.
Yeah, and then I'm going to make sure that I go for my little 15-minute stroll after each meal. I'm going to aim, so that's between 7:30 and 8. Probably between 11:30 and 12, I'm going to have my second meal.
Yes.
And then between 3:30 and 4, try to have another meal. And that'll allow me to, like, I'm not going to say which one's the bigger one, or like it'll depend how hungry I am, I guess.
Yeah.
And I still want to use that feel, eat by feel methodology a little bit.
Yes.
Like just eating till I'm satiated, eat what I feel like eating versus trying to stick to something that's not realistic.
Just because it says on a piece of paper you have to have this.
And for me, like luckily I enjoy eating high protein products. Yes. So like I love eggs. I'll have 2 or 3 eggs with some egg whites just to beef up the protein. I like eating meat. Even the dairy stuff that's high in protein. I love the Greek yogurts. I love the halloumis.
Cottage cheese.
Yeah, that's the only one I don't love.
It's hard to get
It's the texture.
Well, and it's also hard to get one that doesn't have a whole heap of preservatives in it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, for me, texturally, that's not anything that I think would be good. Oh, puppy!
That's little Boston. And this is my brother-in-law.
Oh, hey, how are you? Yeah, so that's the scheduling time stuff, food stuff is what I'm going to move towards to see if there's a change there.
And you'll be interested to see if it helps the sleep patterns.
Yep.
Which I anticipate it really will.
Yep. And that's all those things should get people's circadian rhythms doing what they should be doing.
100% back on track.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're back at the car. So, how did you find the rucksack?
Oh, fantastic! Really good. I really
because you've been using the vest up until now.
The vest. Yep. It's going to be helpful in that progressive overload. You know, like changing it up a bit, doing some hills and. And
I think for me, I know females probably don't. They go towards the vest more than the sack because it's kind of a blokey looking thing. But I just think for.
Sorry.
No, I dig it, but it's like I think having a mix of both, where the vest is your grab and go option. So for me, after I have my brekkie, after I have my lunch, I want to stick 8 kilos on my back, just easy, grab it. I don't need to think about it. Off I go, where I don't need hydration. And that's probably a good tell for how I operate, is that if I've got time to go for a meaningful walk where I think I'm going to need hydration, I'm putting that on. And I'm going to have my hydration. I'm probably going to walk a little heavier and make it really meaningful. If I'm just getting my 2 walks in to get my step up and want to make it more meaningful, I'll just grab the 8 kilo vest and do that. And like I said, my evening one, I just walk. I don't carry any weight because I want to do that last walk.
Well, as a wind down.
It doesn't. I don't want it to be a workout. I just want it to be.
And that's in alignment with circadian practices.
Yes.
Nighttime is about winding down.
Yep.
Melatonin producing. Don't turn those blue lights on, because as soon as you do that, you just stop.
Yep. And so I'm going to work on the time feeding now. So I'm going to have breakfast, which I haven't had in many a year. So I'm going to start eating breakfast, lunch, and then finishing dinner before sunset.
Yep.
And just see how that goes.
Yeah.
So it'll be cool. And then I'll catch back up with you either next week or the week after, however the schedules.
Time,
and then we'll come up with another subject. I'll think of the next subject.
All right.
So
give me a little bit of notice, though.
I will. I'll give you. I think I know what it is.
All right.
Actually, I'm going to call it out now. So it'll be heart rate training. So let's talk about all the zones, Let's talk about the benefits of each zone. It's just something I'm really interested in, and I think especially with the ruck, it allows people to do like zone 1. You can do walking all day long. I think training in zone 2, which is supposed to be the fat burning, and I'm all about the fat as we discussed today. I find it really hard on a treadmill or a bike to stay in zone 2 and enjoy it. But where I can go for a ruck, like we did a ruck last weekend with Lauren, and I wore 12 kilos and we walked along the lake, and 92% of it I was in zone 2.
Yeah, perfect.
And I had the best time. We were chatting,
Yeah.
enjoyed it. Whereas if I wanted to do 90 minutes, it was a 90-minute walk, so I was 80 minutes in zone 2.
And how boring would that be on a bike?
Oh man, and you're consistently looking at your watch to make sure that you don't jump in and out of. Oh, speaking of watch, I either forget to start it or forget to stop it.
and you're on a bike inside a gym under blue light, which is
instead of being out in this, which is the best way to exercise. So I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, terrific.
And we'll talk about heart rate.
Great.
Thanks a bunch.
Cool. Bye.
Bye. All right, there's another Rucking Good episode in the books. Hopefully you liked it, and if you did, feel free to share it around and throw us a like and subscribe if you so wish to. If you would like to see or be a guest on Rucking Good, please drop me an email to team@rucksack.com. And until then, we'll catch you on another episode.